When I was 5 months pregnant, my fiancé James's company was finally going public. I was so happy that I was preparing to go home with James to meet his family and discuss the wedding. Unexpectedly, James suddenly married his childhood friend Sophia. He said that now that he has money, he must first marry the person he loves the most. I felt very upset and considered whether to terminate the pregnancy. But the doctor told me that my body was already weak, and after losing the baby, it might be very difficult to get pregnant again. At that moment, James's arch-rival Michael approached me. He looked at my belly and smiled, saying, "How about we get married and let your child recognize him as their father?" I was silent for 2 minutes, then looked at Michael and asked him word by word, "I agree, but are you willing to take on this responsibility?" Michael sighed in relief after hearing my agreement, then smiled. "I am willing, really 100 times willing." I saw Michael so surprised that he eventually smiled. Then I thought that because Michael and James had always been in conflict, the company's finances seemed to be in crisis now. Marrying me, a woman pregnant with someone else's child, should come with some compensation for him. I paused for a moment and then continued, "Don't worry, as compensation I will invest the money in your company." Michael listened to me, his lips curling slightly. Seeming unsure if he believed me, he just nodded and looked at me seriously. "All right, it has been decided that I will marry you," after saying goodbye to Michael. I took a deep breath and returned to the apartment I shared with James for 3 years, ready to pack my things. As soon as I walked in, I saw James. He noticed my slightly bulging belly and a clear expression appeared on his face. "I knew you didn't want to give up on our child." James stood up and took a card out of his bag and handed it to me. "This card has 100,000 yuan, which is my compensation for you and the child. Don't worry, even though I married someone else, I have no ties with you now, and I will give you and the child 2,000 yuan in child support every month from now on." Listening to James, I nearly burst out laughing. During those 3 years from 22 to 25, I accompanied James in starting a business and went through quite a bit of hardship. Now he thinks he can settle things with just this little bit of money. It's really too funny. This amount of money isn't even enough for me to buy a bag. His actions are truly ridiculous. I looked at the card James gave me and coldly swatted it away. "There's no need for that. We've already broken up. I now have a child. And we have nothing to do with each other anymore. You don't need to give me money." James was very angry when he heard this. He frowned and looked at me with disdain. "Emily, I suggest you don't underestimate the situation. My company is about to go public, and my worth will soon exceed 100 million, whether you are my wife or my mistress. I will take care of you and ensure you live well. Even though our child is a bastard, he can still have a good life. If you refuse me, you better think it through." Seeing James's smug expression, I felt a strong sense of aversion. I never expected the man I loved for 5 years to change completely once he had power. I clenched my fingers tightly. "Don't worry, I have no regrets at all." When James heard my answer, his anger reached its peak. He forcefully threw the card at my face, completely disregarding my feelings. "One day, you will come back to me with an embarrassed look, like a dog." After saying that, James turned and walked away. I looked coldly at James's back and couldn't help but laugh. "If you want the company to go public, you need to get my approval first." James and I were in a relationship during college. After graduation, it was tough for James when he first started his business, and I supported him all the way. My dad wasn't very optimistic about James, so I didn't keep in touch with my family for a while. I accompanied James through 3 years of hardship while starting his business, and finally, his company began to make progress. My dad also started to soften and eventually agreed to invest some money in James to help his company go public. Just then, I received even better news. I was pregnant. I shared this good news with James, and he immediately became very happy, proposed to me, and we dreamt about our future together. Unexpectedly. The next day, his childhood friend Sophia called him and invited him out to dinner. When he returned, he coldly told me he wanted to break up. The first thing he said was, After being together for so many years, I actually always knew that the person I loved the most wasn't you. Seeing Sophia made that feeling even more obvious. Let's break up. Now that I have money, I have to marry the woman I love the most first. At that moment, my heart sank. Our 5-year relationship feels like a joke. When I got home and they heard I was marrying Michael and pregnant, my dad's expression was very serious. We can raise this child ourselves. We don't need you to help find a father. And that father has no capability. Are you sure he won't just take your money like James did and then abandon you? I nodded immediately upon hearing my dad's words. I decided to marry him. I don't know why, but I found Michael's proposal very appealing. Moreover, I have no feelings for Michael and I'm not worried he will betray me. The next day, I told Michael to meet my parents. This time, I was ready to tell Michael my true identity. Unexpectedly, Michael brought his parents along. And it turned out they were Mr. and Mrs. Michael, the CEO. It turns out I wasn't the only one hiding my identity, after learning each other's true identities. Both sets of parents were quite surprised. My parents exchanged glances and my dad spoke first, saying, "You all know my daughter's situation. I think it's better to forget it." Before he finished speaking, Michael's dad and mom laughed and pulled out a bunch of gifts to put on the table. Emily is pregnant, and we all know it. This news makes us feel really good, especially happy. Michael's dad and mom exchanged glances, and then Michael's mom shyly said, "Just right, my son has some health issues and can never have his own children." Emily is really a great match for my son. Hearing this from Michael's parents, my parents and I were all stunned. I looked at Michael in disbelief. Michael smiled at me, then mouthed something. We are truly a perfect match. Seeing Michael like this, I couldn't help but smile slightly. My engagement with Michael was quickly settled. Michael's parents seemed very pleased with me. Michael's dad gave me 30 shares of Michael Group as a betrothal gift, and Michael's mom also gave me a very beautiful jade bracelet. However, when she handed me the jade bracelet, her face was full of apology. This jade bracelet was something I bought at an auction, and it feels a bit ordinary to give it to you. But don't worry, Michael's grandma originally left a bracelet for her granddaughter-in-law, which is now in a bank abroad. I will have Michael retrieve it. My parents are also very satisfied with this marriage. They immediately mentioned using 40 shares of the Emily Group as a dowry. We happily finished the meal just like that. After dinner, Michael's parents urged him to go abroad to buy me a diamond ring and a jade bracelet. I was pushed by my parents to pick a wedding dress. And I had no choice but to hurry to the bridal shop. After trying on several styles, I finally found one that I liked, just as I was about to pay with my card. A girl's voice suddenly said, "I bought this wedding dress." I turned around and saw it was James and Sophia. Sophia was dressed in designer brands, walking towards me, while James was carrying several shopping bags from luxury brands. It seems they spent quite a bit of money at the mall. I raised my eyebrows as I looked at those branded bags. James used to be a very frugal person. When we first started dating, he was always very careful with spending. He never bought me anything expensive. He always told me that designer clothes and bags were useless. And you know I've never liked those vain girls. I believe you can understand how I feel. However, he is very generous to Sophia now. These things at a glance would cost at least $500,000. There's no such thing as saving. It's really that I'm just not good enough. Sophia looked at me with pride on her face. She lifted her chin and coquettishly said to James, "Brother James, I really like this wedding dress. Can you ask Sister Emily to give it to me?" James smiled gently upon hearing Sophia's words. "Of course." "No problem." After James replied, Sophia continued to look at me mockingly. "Didn't you say you don't regret it? Why are you running over like a dog to pick a wedding dress? Are you trying to wear a wedding dress with a big belly to rush someone into marriage? Let me tell you, that's absolutely impossible. I will only hold the wedding with Sophia." Hearing James say this, I couldn't help but chuckle. Then I shot a cold glance at James. "Don't worry, we've already broken up, and I'm getting married soon to someone else." James was taken aback when he heard what I said, but then he laughed. Marrying someone else. Haha, that's really interesting. Who would choose to marry a pregnant woman? I ignored James's mockery and directly looked at the waiter and said, "This wedding dress was picked by me first, and I've already given you the money. So go ahead and swipe your card now." The waiter was momentarily stunned upon hearing this and immediately prepared to go. Unexpectedly, the next second, James stopped him. "Wait a minute." James looked at me disdainfully and said to the waiter, "Have you checked the price? Emily, this wedding dress costs $1 million. How could someone in your financial situation afford it? Even if it's a forced marriage, shouldn't you choose a cheaper wedding dress instead?" The waiter looked at me with confusion after hearing what James said. Seeing the waiter's expression, James felt a bit smug inside. He handed his card to the waiter and said, "Swipe my card, I've decided to buy this wedding dress." As soon as James finished speaking, Sophia immediately said to another waiter, "My husband has already paid. Why aren't you taking me to try on the wedding dress?" I felt very uncomfortable seeing Sophia touching the wedding dress. I don't want this wedding dress anymore, so, under the hesitant gaze of the waitress, I took my card back directly. Let them have the wedding dress. I was just about to turn and leave when Sophia wouldn't let me go. She actually grabbed my wrist and called out to James with a longing expression, "Brother James, this bracelet is so beautiful, I really want it." Hearing Sophia say this, James turned his gaze back to me, seeing the bracelet on my wrist. His eyebrows raised. "Sophia likes this bracelet. You should give it to her." When I heard James say this, I was stunned. I didn't expect James's shamelessness to reach a new level. He seemed oblivious to my disdain for him and continued speaking. "As long as you give the bracelet to Sophia, I can promise you now that after you have the child, we can raise the child together with Sophia and me." When Sophia heard James's words, a hint of unfriendly expression flashed in her eyes. However, when she saw my bracelet, only desire remained in her eyes. This time, she directly reached out and placed her hand on my bracelet. Then she showed an understanding expression and said, "I agree, Sister Emily. As long as you give me this bracelet, I will take care of your child as if they were my own." After saying that, Sophia directly reached out to grab my bracelet. Completely ignoring whether I agreed or not, I pushed her hand away and said angrily, "Get away from me. My bracelet is absolutely not for you. There's no way I will let you raise my child." I tried to break free from Sophia's grip, wanting to walk away again, but this time I was stopped by James. "Emily, how dare you speak to Sophia like that? Let me tell you, I must get that bracelet. Whether you want to or not, you have to give it to me." After saying that, James actually came to snatch it away. James is very strong, and I am a pregnant woman now, so I can't confront him directly. No one among the surrounding waiters came to stop him. I calmed down for a moment and immediately made a decision. I let him take my bracelet. Then I suddenly bumped into his body. Sure enough, the bracelet fell to the ground and shattered into pieces, seeing the ground covered in shards. Sophia shouted, "Brother James, the bracelet is broken." Sophia looked at the broken pieces on the ground with a pained expression, as if the bracelet were hers. James looked at me with disgust, as if to say, "Emily, you should have just handed over the bracelet like a good girl. Now the bracelet is broken, making Sophia unhappy. And it's all your fault. Such a lack of appreciation, you ruined my good mood." After saying that, James took Sophia's hand and walked away. I couldn't help but sneer at James's shamelessness. Once they left, I immediately told the staff, "I would like to speak with your manager." 3 days later, the day of James's company's IPO finally arrived. I arrived at the company dressed formally. James frowned as soon as he saw me. He was the first to ask me, "What are you doing here? Didn't I already fire you? If you want to cling to me and still want money, let's find another time. Don't worry, as long as you apologize to Sophia for what happened last time and buy her a bracelet, I will take good care of you and the child." I listened to James's shameless words without even raising an eyebrow. I just smiled lightly. I'll say it again. We are done, and there will be no relationship in the future. I'm here to handle other matters. James still seems to not fully believe me. He looked at me with a knowing gaze. Emily, my company is about to go public, and you coming to me now, we both know the reason. I'll say it again. I will give you and the child 2,000 yuan in support every month from now on. But you must leave my company immediately. The investors are about to arrive. James directly called security to come over, before the security arrived. Sophia rushed in a panic. With a look of panic, she said to James, "James, we have a problem. Our biggest investor, Emily's father, just called and said he wants to withdraw his investment." After Emily's father finished the call, some small investors also called in, expressing that they wanted to withdraw their investments as well. All investments have been cancelled. Upon hearing this from Sophia, James immediately felt panicked. He incredulously answered Sophia's call. He tried calling each investor one by one, but no one answered. With trembling hands, he held the phone and shouted, "How is this possible? This can't be happening." Then he seemed to realize something, staring at me with an angry expression. He said, "Emily is your doing. All the investments I brought to the company in the past have now failed." And James finally thought of me. I gave a cold smile. Watching James admit it without hesitation. "Of course it's me." James showed an expression of disbelief. I delivered another heavy blow to him, because the biggest investor is my father. And I am the only daughter of the Emily Group. Previously, my father decided to invest because we were about to get married, and now that you have found someone new, my father will naturally withdraw the investment, and the other investors will do the same. James widened his eyes, clearly still not believing what I said. Before he could react, the police arrived. As a result, James smashed the jade bracelet my mother-in-law gave me, and that bracelet was worth 20 million. The surveillance footage in the mall is clear. He can't escape. If James can't pay back the money, he could end up spending many years in prison. Hearing the police say this, James felt like the sky was falling down. He wanted to see me, so I had my lawyer send him a share transfer agreement. If he can't repay the 20 million, he'll have to use all the shares of the company to settle the debt. James thought about it for 3 days and finally agreed. That's how I traded a bracelet for one of James's companies. After taking over the company, Michael finally brought back a custom diamond ring and a jade bracelet from abroad. He also brought back a custom wedding dress. The wedding dress was tailor-made for my figure, adorned with my favorite rose patterns. I really didn't expect Michael to know I liked roses after Michael returned. My family decided on the date for me and him to get our marriage certificate. What happened this afternoon really surprised me. Michael seemed very happy about this decision. He quickly prepared all the documents and brought a big bunch of roses, smiling at me and saying, "After today, you will become my wife. I have a wife now." His smile lifted my spirits as well. Just then, James called. James was very excited on the phone. He said, "Emily, why did you never tell me you are the young lady from the Emily family? It turns out you've been deceiving me all these years, but I have already forgiven you. I promise you, I will divorce Sophia as soon as possible, and after the divorce, we can get married." Hearing James' words, I couldn't help but sneer. I glanced at Michael and smiled, asking James, "What are you thinking? I mentioned before that I was getting married. And today we're going to get the marriage certificate. If you don't believe me, you can come and see." After saying that, I hung up the phone in the afternoon. Michael and I happily went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our marriage certificate. After coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Michael held my hand tightly, and we smiled at each other. At that moment, a voice came over. "Emily, what are you two doing?" James looked at the hands of Michael and me held tightly together in surprise. In his incredulous gaze, I tightened my grip on Michael's hand with a hint of mockery. "As you can see, this is my newlywed husband, Michael." At that moment, Michael even raised our hands and shook them in front of James, looking quite provocative. James immediately became excited by our actions. His pupils clearly shook. But he seemed unable to believe it at that moment. He spoke with trembling lips. "It's impossible. This really won't work. How can you marry Michael? Don't you know he's my arch nemesis?" After saying that, he tried to come forward and grab me. "Emily, are you lying to me? I know you still love me deep down. Otherwise, how could you, a young lady? Have endured so many years of hardship with me, and you're also pregnant with our child. I'm the biological father of the child, and you won't marry anyone else." "Right." I let out a cold laugh, feeling very dissatisfied, and quickly avoided James. After dodging him, I took out the marriage certificate I had just received from my bag and handed it to him. Just like he had handed me the card before. "Look closely. I really married Michael. Now we are legally married, and he is still the father of the child in my womb. From now on, this child will only call him Dad, and you, who once abandoned him, are not worthy of having any relationship with him." James trembled his lips, looking at the marriage certificate in my hand. At this moment, he finally believed that Michael and I were really married. James's lips started trembling uncontrollably, and his face turned very pale. Then he suddenly collapsed on the ground and began to cry. "How did it come to this? Emily, how could you abandon me? Why did you choose Michael? How could you do this to me? How could you let my child call him Dad? How could you let my child mistake someone else for their father?" James suddenly burst into tears, as if he had been greatly impacted. Seeing him like that, I felt no emotion at all. I just carefully put away the marriage certificate and smiled at Michael. "Let's go. Our parents at home are still waiting for us." After Michael and I received our marriage certificate, we immediately began preparing for the wedding. We informed many prominent families about our wedding, which resulted in a lot of laughter. Everyone mocked Michael's family for spending a lot of money on a wedding, only to marry a pregnant woman. Some small media even attacked me, saying I was a frivolous girl with a loose private life. But those reports suddenly disappeared as soon as they appeared. It was handled privately by Michael. I don't know what method he used, but all the reports disappeared overnight, and those who mocked me came to apologize. My dad was very pleased with this and praised Michael in front of me, saying, "What a great son-in-law Michael is. He's responsible and decisive. You really made the right choice. It's a pity he can't have children otherwise. Such a good man wouldn't be someone we could easily encounter. But only in this way can he truly care about you and the child in your womb." Hearing my dad's words made me feel a bit bittersweet, but that feeling quickly faded away. Michael and I will have our wedding in 5 days, and we will invite all the wealthy and some journalist friends. The media says this wedding is the wedding of the century. Everyone who saw me that day was blessing me, except for one person. That person is James. I didn't invite him, but he came on his own. This time, James actually stood in the middle of the road, risking his life to block my wedding car with his body. I had no choice but to get out of the wedding car. James was half kneeling on the ground, holding a diamond ring, looking at me very sincerely. "Emily, you really can't marry Michael today. No man would want to marry a woman who's carrying another man's child. Besides, he and I have never gotten along. He's marrying you just to get back at me. You can't marry him. I am the right person for you. I love you. You are the most special person in my heart, and the father of the child in your belly. Will you marry me, Emily?" James held up the ring, looking serious. My fingers were a bit nervous. It wasn't James's proposal that shook me, but his words did make me think. When I first agreed to marry Michael, I was indeed trying to get back at James, but now my feelings for Michael have become complicated. I was about to say something when Michael suddenly appeared behind me. He thought the flowers in my hand were not fresh enough, so he specifically got off the car to buy flowers. And I didn't expect him to come back so quickly. Michael hugged me and coldly looked at James, saying, "Shut up. I'm marrying Emily because I love her. This has nothing to do with you. We are clearly enemies, but I'm not stupid enough to marry a woman I don't love just to get back at you." After speaking, Michael gave a look to the bodyguard, who immediately took James away. After James was taken away, Michael looked at me sincerely. "What I just said was the truth, and I will gradually make you believe it. Let's go to the wedding venue. Mom and Dad are still waiting." Seeing the sincere expression on Michael's face, my heart couldn't help but race. At this moment, I believe what he said is true. Maybe I really found the right person. Our wedding went very smoothly without James's influence. I had imagined my wedding with James countless times before. I never expected that just over 10 days later, the groom would be someone else. But right now, I feel very happy. After the wedding, Michael and I returned to his villa. This villa is the wedding house that Michael prepared for me. I got married too hastily. This is my first time here. As soon as I entered the villa, I was stunned. The decoration style of the villa turned out to be everything I like. But I never told Michael my preferences. Seeing my surprised expression, Michael smiled. He took my hand and walked into the study. Then he gave me a photo. I've been waiting for you to recognize me on your own, but you still haven't. Emily. Have you really forgotten me? I was completely stunned when I saw that photo. I looked the same as I did in middle school, and the boy standing next to me was my best friend at the time. He was the chubbiest boy in our class back then. Many classmates bullied him. My dad signed me up for taekwondo classes, which made me feel a strong sense of justice every day. Whenever I saw someone bullying that boy, I would immediately step in to stop it. Gradually, he and I became best friends. I remember his name was John. So why is it Michael now? And Michael has really lost a lot of weight. He used to be as round as a ball, but now he looks completely different. Michael smiled gently when he saw my puzzled expression. He said that he had his mother's last name when he was a child, but later changed it to his father's. When we parted ways after graduating from middle school, I confirmed my thoughts and started working hard to lose weight, and I didn't expect it to work so well. Then, Michael looked at me seriously. Emily, I've liked you since middle school. But I went abroad at that time and only returned after graduating from university. By the time I came back, you were already with James. Perhaps seeing James made me a bit angry. So I didn't go home to take over the family business, but chose to start my own venture, which led to us becoming competitors. I once thought we would never have the chance to be together again. But unexpectedly, fate gave me another opportunity. Don't worry, I will take good care of you and the kids. Michael looked at me quietly, his eyes filled with deep affection. I was touched by his gaze, thinking about all the moments we had experienced together. I stood on my tiptoes and gave him a warm hug. Okay, I believe you. After talking with Michael, the last bit of distance between us disappeared. Our relationship quickly heated up. Michael knows what color I like and is particularly attentive to my diet and pregnancy. I can feel his thoughtful care every day. We are very happy here. Meanwhile, James and Sophia have been going through some troubles since James sold the company to me. He has been unable to find a suitable job. After abandoning me, James learned that he was about to become the president of a publicly listed company, and he actually spent several million on Sophia using his credit card. Now he can't find a job and can't pay off his credit card debts. I heard that James has already asked Sophia to start selling the designer bags and clothes she bought not long ago. But Sophia disagrees. Sophia shouted at James, "What did you say to me back then? You promised me that you would make sure I live a good life. I quit my previous job for you and even broke up with my boyfriend. Now that I've finally spent a few good days with you, you've become desperately poor, even wanting to sell my clothes and bags, and I don't want to sell them." James has always been gentle with Sophia, but now he has changed. As a result, the jade bracelet broke, and the company had to compensate for it. Everything I've sacrificed over the years has been in vain. By the way, if it weren't for you, would Emily and I have broken up? James heard about his company's listing, and his deep feelings for me and Sophia still lingered in my mind. Unexpectedly, in just a few months, the situation has changed so drastically. I couldn't help but laugh at this scene. Just then, James suddenly looked up and saw me. His eyes lit up all of a sudden, ready to call me, but Sophia next to him suddenly slapped him. Sophia yelled at me furiously, "Emily, just wait. I will definitely settle the score with you." Looking at Sophia's crazy state, I felt that something was off with her. I quickly stepped on the gas to leave that troublesome place, leaving those two behind. 2 months have passed, and the baby in my belly has finally reached the due date. Michael carefully arranged for me to stay at a maternity center. He also prepared a delivery bag for me, which contained the baby's bottles, various little clothes, and many other things. On the day the baby was born, Michael was even more nervous than I was. When my stomach hurt, he held my hand tightly, comforting and encouraging me. "Emily, don't worry, I will always be by your side." Holding his hand, I felt a special warmth in my heart. With his encouragement, the baby was born safely. I had a daughter. How lucky I am. She looks almost exactly like me, with no sign of her father James at all. Maybe she doesn't have a good impression of her biological father. After giving birth, I was sent to a postpartum center. A month later, I finished my confinement and prepared to leave the postpartum center. Michael went to drive first, and unexpectedly, Sophia suddenly appeared from the side. She was holding a sharp knife and charged towards the child. She shouted, "Die, Emily. First, deal with this child, then I'll handle you." I had just finished my confinement, my body was still weak, and I was holding a child. At that moment, I really didn't know what to do. Just as I instinctively wanted to protect the child with my body, James suddenly appeared and pushed me aside, saying, "Watch out." Because James pushed me, Sophia's knife ended up stabbing him in the abdomen. The doctor was busy for over 10 hours in the hospital before finally bringing James out of the operating room. When he woke up, the first thing he wanted was to see me and the child. I hesitated for a moment but still walked into the ward holding the child. At this time, James looked very pale and his complexion was poor. Seeing me come in, James's eyes suddenly brightened, and when he saw the child in my arms, he broke into a big smile. "You've come, and you've brought the child with you. Can I take a look at the baby?" James's eyes were filled with anticipation. I held the child close to me and let him take a glance. James's gaze was full of desire. He stared at the child for a long while before finally closing his eyes. He said to me, "I'm sorry, Emily. I'm really sorry. All these years you have been with me through the ups and downs of starting a business. I love you very much, especially when you told me you were pregnant with our child. I genuinely wanted to marry you. However, I knew my company was about to go public, and at that moment I lost my way, although I thought I loved you. The one I truly loved in my heart was my childhood sweetheart, Sophia. So I chose to give up on you and the child and marry her. However, from that moment on, my nightmare began. Fortunately, this time I got a chance to make it up to you both, and luckily I saved you." After speaking, James looked at me with expectation. "Emily, can you forgive me for taking a stab for you?" After saying that, James began to cough incessantly. After the cough ended, he looked at me with great anticipation. "Please forgive me, Emily. The doctor told me that this knife wound in my stomach would prevent me from living long, even with surgery. I just want to get your forgiveness before I leave. And I hope my daughter can recognize me as her father." James pleaded with me in a hoarse voice. But in his expectant gaze, I just held the child and moved a bit further away from him. "I can't," I said firmly. "James, don't forget, it was your reckless behavior that caused Sophia to become uncontrollable, even wanting to harm me and the child. This is a consequence you must bear. If I weren't the only daughter of the Emily family, my situation might be dire, and you wouldn't have this reflection now. No matter what you do, my daughter will never acknowledge you as her father." I walked out of the ward with the child, not looking back. Michael outside looked at me with some concern. I knew what he was thinking at this moment. I held his hand tightly and said, "Let's go home." Sophia was arrested by the police for committing a crime of harming others. I heard that Sophia was asking for James's forgiveness at the hospital door. She pleaded, "Please, James, can you let me go? I really understand my mistake now. If you don't sign that waiver, I might be stuck here for the rest of my life. We've grown up together since childhood. It's been so many years. Can't you show me a little mercy?" Sophia earnestly begged James. I heard that James was unwavering and insisted on a harsher punishment for Sophia. As a result, Sophia was indeed sentenced to life imprisonment. 6 months later, James was back in the intensive care unit due to severe liver and gallbladder damage. This time, the doctor directly told him that the situation was very serious. James called me, wanting to see me and our daughter one last time. "Emily, please, let me see our daughter one last time." James was crying very sadly on the phone. But this time, I hung up and blocked him. 2 days later, we heard that James had passed away in the hospital. No one was there to accompany him in his final moments. In the end, it was an old friend who handled his funeral. That old friend has contacted me. James made a will for the child, leaving behind $100,000. After hearing this news, I was stunned for a moment, then said I would have the lawyer handle it, and that money is for you. At that moment, the past people and events had all disappeared. In the blink of an eye, it was my daughter's birthday. She turned 1 year old. Michael and I prepared a grand birthday celebration for her. We invited all our friends and family. And the party was incredibly lively. Michael even personally prepared a gigantic birthday cake for our daughter. At that moment, he was holding our daughter, with a face full of paternal love, taking pictures with her. I watched this scene with a smile, just as I couldn't find the lighter at home, so I was searching around. As a result, I found a medical report in a hidden compartment. I took a closer look. It actually stated that Michael's health was excellent. I could hardly believe it and hurried to find Michael with the report. He looked calm when he saw the report. It's actually just a well-intentioned lie. I'll explain it to you in detail later. I'm a bit surprised by his casual explanation. At that moment, my parents called me. "Daughter and son-in-law, come here, let's take a family photo together." Michael took my hand and replied with a smile, coming. Seeing Michael's happy face in front of me, all my earlier doubts vanished. I feel that the days ahead will be smooth.